First Man is directed by Damien Chazelle. It stars Ryan Gosling, Claire Foy, Jason Clarke, and Kyle Chandler. First Man tells the story of Neil Armstrong and the mission that he had to go on so he can walk on the moon. However, this movie, unlike other movies that take place in space, this movie is about the personal life of Neil Armstrong. You know, his family life and the struggles he went through with his team, and with the press and the worries that they have prior to the mission going on the moon. So really, the first two acts is about Neil Armstrong and what he's been through, and the third act is when you get to see the mission and all that kind of good stuff. So this is what really First Man's about. And after 50 years, or nearly 50 years since history has been made, we finally have a movie about Neil Armstrong, which is honestly pretty surprising to me, considering that it is a very monumental part of our history that this happened. So yeah, we get a movie called First Man about Neil Armstrong finally. I was really excited for this movie, mainly because Damien Chazelle was behind this project. Now, Damien Chazelle is one of my favorite directors working today. He's made Whiplash and La La Land, two of my favorite movies of the 2010s. Both of those are masterpieces. I rewatched them again, and honestly, they're some of my favorite movies of all time. So going into this movie, I had very high expectations, and plus, this is the first movie we have on Neil Armstrong, and Ryan Gosling is attached. So I was very excited and had high hopes, and I'm happy to say that First Man is an achievement in both a technical and emotional aspect, because First Man is a really good movie. First thing I want to say is that Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy are excellent in this movie. It's hard to say that if they're going to be nominated or not, because it does look like it's going to be a stacked year for Best Actor. But I got to say, Ryan Gosling, he's known for playing his performances in a very quiet manner. Like he doesn't really say much. He likes to express a lot with, his body language and his facial, expressions. And he does a really good job here. Neil Armstrong seemed to be a person who was very focused on his work, and not that he didn't have a heart or no emotions, but he kind of kept his emotions in check. And Ryan Gosling, I thought, portrayed that really well. Claire Foy is also very strong. I thought that she played a wife that understandably is concerned about Neil Armstrong, that he may not come back home from this mission. And there's even a scene where she shares her frustration with Ryan Gosling, and that scene in particular is very strong. If they do nominate her, that's probably going to be the scene where they show the clip of why she was nominated. And she was great in the movie. And so is everyone else. The supporting cast, like I said, included Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler, and a bunch of other people, and everyone does a really good job in the acting department. So the acting is really good. The directing is also very top-notch. There are some scenes that are filmed so well, especially some of the most intense scenes. So like when they're in a rocket ship and where they're doing the testing, and even in the third act, the direction is just top-notch. And there's a lot of intensity too, because the movie is filmed with a lot of handheld camera, which it does cause some shaky cam, but it makes you feel like you're in it with them. And I saw it in IMAX, and that just added it more to the intensity. And also there is a lot of CGI and practical effects. I want to say more practical effects than CGI, and it looks so real. Like it's hard to tell what's practical and what's CGI because it's filmed so beautifully. And even the third act, during when they're in the moon, it looks like they're in the moon. I swear to God, like it's just so beautiful looking, and I have to commend them for pulling that off, because we're in 2018 now, so obviously we can do a lot, and with technology and how movies look and everything. But wow, it just, especially in IMAX on the big screen, it looks absolutely unreal. So it's awesome. The score is also beautiful. I think this will get nominated for Best Score. It kind of reminded me of some of Hans Zimmer's earlier work. And not like it copied it or anything, but it has a really beautiful score. There's some intense scenes that the music is really well incorporated with. Or even like just some beautiful music you're hearing, and you're like, wow, this is like really good, and it's actually memorable. So yeah, the score is very good. Cinematography, like I mentioned, is immaculate. It's really well shot. And overall, this is just a really good movie. As far as flaws, one flaw I do have is that towards the second act, I did feel like it meandered a little bit. It did kind of drag for me. I felt like if there was some scenes that were cut off in the second act, it would have been fine. This movie is nearly 2.5 hours, and I want to say for the most part, I was invested. So it wasn't like, oh my God, the movie got boring or anything. It just, there are some scenes where the pacing was a little was a little bit, struggling. So I thought that the pacing could have been a little bit better in that aspect. And one other thing I got to say, this is the first movie that Damien Chazelle did not write the script for, because with the other movies he directed, he wrote the movies himself. This movie is written by Josh Singer, who wrote The Post and Spotlight. The screenplay is not bad at all, so don't get the idea that it's bad. But I don't know. Despite the fact this movie it's trying to show you more of the personal side of Neil Armstrong, I personally had a hard time being emotionally invested with the characters. Now, that might just be a personal thing. I might be in the minority when I say that, or it might just be the screenplay is not on par with everything else. So what I'm trying to say is everything else in this movie is an A plus, but the screenplay. But again, the screenplay is not bad at all. I just feel like the screenplay could have been a little better. And if Damien Chazelle had wrote the screenplay himself, this probably would have been the best movie of the year. I don't know. I might be in the minority when I say that, but that is how I feel. Overall, though, this is a really solid movie. I am pleased. This is my most anticipated film of the rest of the year, simply because Damien Chazelle was directing it. And this is another very strong addition to his filmography. I mean, granted, it's his weakest film, but wow, that's saying a lot, because this movie is an 8 out of 10, an A minus. It's really good. It's really solid, and I would recommend going to the theater and seeing it. And either in Dolby or IMAX. Probably IMAX would be the best format, because the screen's bigger and you get to see the moon and all the intensity. It just adds up. So I would really recommend seeing this. It's a very good movie. I have a feeling that it will be a major player in the award season. So definitely see it, because I recommend it, and it showcases that Damien Chazelle, he has a very strong talent that he needs to be recognized. There's directors like Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, where you hear their names attached to a movie and you're like, yeah, I'm instantaneously excited. And I feel like Damien Chazelle should be added to that category, because he's just so damn great, and this movie proves that. First Man, 8 out of 10. I recommend it. Okay, guys, that's my review of First Man. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Have a great day. All right, take care.